Hi, my name is Jane Scarf, and I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I have a very disturbing message for today. It's about the medical assistance in dying, which is just called MAID, and I've learned that the Ontario government is, just a minute, trolling for candidates for this. And the way they're doing that is they've put together a form. This is coming from the Ontario government. The link is in the credits, and it's called the department, provincial department is called Home and Community Care Support Services Campaign. Okay. And the form that I'm talking about is called the Preliminary Screener Home and Community Care Services Request Form. Okay? Now, you would think that the questions would have to do with, you know, what the needs are and, you know, sort of identifying whether there's services available for that person with a certain level of need and things like that. For example, this came to my attention because I was assisting somebody that needs a wheelchair, and apparently the new and improved system of assisted devices program in Ontario, they will not even accept a physio doctor's assessment or prescription that the person needs a wheelchair. You have to have a specially certified person to say this person can't walk, therefore he needs a wheelchair. Okay, so that was, you know, alert number one. And then when I questioned that, they said, well, you have to get a certified person, and that's going to cost $400. And I'm like, well, this person doesn't have that kind of money to pay for that assessment, and it's a ridiculous assessment anyways. He can't walk, and his physio doctor says he needs a wheelchair. But nevertheless, this is the form they gave me to fill out as a preliminary step. And what I found most disturbing is they were going through the what do they call that, independent, like the independent living criterias, and then and no detail, like not enough detail to be able to determine if they have resources for it and so on or whatever. Just the first one, 4 baths. Does a person need help getting in and out of the tub? And then they have various questions. No, they don't need help, or they only need someone to get things up, set things up for them. You only need someone nearby. Yes, they do need help. Okay, so then it goes down, washing themselves, washing their hair. For bathing, does the person need help washing their lower body? For personal hygiene, think about the person combing their hair, brushing their teeth, or washing and drying their face and hands. Do not count baths and showers. For getting dressed or undressed, think about how the person dresses and undresses from the waist. Include belts, pants, shirts, shoes, prosthetics, and orthopedics, etc. How does the person get around? Think about when they are walking, using a wheelchair, a walker, or other mobility devices between areas on the same floor. And can they do it themselves? Do they need someone to get things up, set things up for them if they only need someone nearby, or they need some assistance walking using a wheelchair or a walker? Shortness of breath. Does the person feel out of breath while they're doing something, if they're doing day-to-day activity, or all the time? Health. How would you rate the health? Enter the answer. Good, fair, poor. The person has health issues, conditions which impact their thinking, daily activities, mood, and behavior. So now we're getting into the meat of it. This is like just random assessment that just goes out, and anybody can fill it out for anybody else, and gather all this personal, intimate information, including they ask for the person's name, contact information, everything else. So the person has health issues, conditions which impact their thinking, daily activities, mood, or behavior. These issues are getting worse, or they may change. Okay, so as you're filling this out, you're giving evidence, that would support if there's criteria for the MAID. And it's not, you can tell it's not in a nature of like, okay, we have this level of resources for this level of people or whatever. Doesn't have that detail. Like when it came to the mobility, it didn't try to determine any of the specific issues that they would need to know regarding what kind of wheelchair or whatever. Anyways, right now the person is having a flare-up or a reoccurring or long-term health issue, or they have a new recent illness or injury that affects their day-to-day activities. Yes or no? Ask the person this question. In the last 3 days, have you felt sad, depressed, or hopeless? Enter the answer or select I don't know if you are unable to obtain the answer. Well, they don't provide in-home psychology. So why are they even asking that question? It has no bearing on resources that are available and matching the people with the need, blah, blah, blah. There's no support for that. Except for, well, we can kill you. We can help you die if you would like that. That's the one. As soon as I saw that one, just like red light, red light, red light. Caregivers. An informal caregiver is an unpaid person, for example, a family member, close friend, neighbors, or others who help the person with their daily activities. If you are the informal caregiver or know the informal caregiver who provides most of the person's care, are you or are they feeling distress, anger, depression, or feel that you or they are struggling to cope? Are family or close friends saying they are feeling overwhelmed by the person's illness? And again, what are they asking that for? Is the person taking 3 or more prescribed medications per day? And again, like trying to determine what in-home services are going to be provided? The hell does that have to do with anything? On this like random form that just goes out, and then please use this box to describe any additional information you would like us to know, in particular what sort of help you are looking for. So answer all the questions first. And anyway, I'll put it in after. I neglected to put it in, but there's also, or you can look it up on Google, the criteria for the MAID program, and you'll see that it matches. Like the answers they're getting from these questions, the scope and the nature of the questions is related to establishing whether they meet the criteria or not. Nothing else. It's not related to what services they might have and what needs you might have and so on. Like, I read them all, and they had one question on mobility, and I was supposed to fill this out in order for somebody to get assistance in getting a wheelchair. Also, what's very scary about this is that this is going out to anybody and everybody, okay? So several people could fill this form out for the same person, and they're putting their name on it. See, I could put my name on it or the person themselves. So it's, you can do it or somebody on your behalf, and you don't have to show that you have any capacity to speak for somebody else. I do for the person I was dealing with. I have power of attorney, but I didn't have to. They didn't ask if I had it or make me show it, but they're asking for all this personal information, like the contact information. It's not just hypothetical. It's not just some kind of research to see how many problems there are in the community. This is specific to a specific person that they're looking for. So I don't see it being anything else but trolling for candidates for this MAID program, like finding out who we can offer, because they're not going to show up and offer to deal with any of depression, helplessness, all that. And actually, I missed saying the point I was making earlier. If I fill that out and I'm making an assertion that they have difficulties making decisions, because that's what one of the questions was, okay? That provides, the form wouldn't probably be the end all be all, but they're just trolling, right? So that they get a bite. It's like a bite, okay? Somebody said, you know, that this person is this, like this, and like that, so they're a candidate. But another little tweak to it is if I put that the person can't make decisions, and then they get involved, and the person doesn't want assisted suicide, the depressed person who has all these medical conditions, all that, they don't want that. I've answered that they're having difficulty making decisions, so they can come and, you know, get me to verify that. And then if I have, like in my case, I don't know if they'd be able to override it or not, but if there's no power of attorney, if I'm just filling it out for my sister or my mother or something like that, and I don't have any official power of attorney, they could still come and get my observations and feedback to base a decision that they need to make the decision for the person. I hope I'm making it clear what I'm saying. Like, say I fill this form out for the person I'm thinking of right now, but I don't have power of attorney, but I say they can't make decisions. They're confused and whatever, because they're asking that question. And I put that they are having difficulty making decisions. Well, they have if I'm filling out the form, they have all my contact information and the person's information. So they could just, you know, like toddle off over there and ask them, offer, do you want us to help suicide? And if they say no, then they still have the capacity to come back to me and get me to make a declaration that they can't make decisions. And then they get to make the decisions for them. And they could decide that their quality of life isn't good, so therefore they're going to decide on their behalf to have assisted suicide. This is pretty scary communist crap, and it's right in our face, and it needs to be addressed. Like, whoever made that form up and put it out, the people involved in that, they need to be arrested. That's very intensely horrific crap. And they're doing it in prisons also. I don't know if they systematically interview everybody, but I've heard several times that people were interviewed if they were reporting that there's depression or, you know, anxiety or anything like that. Not necessarily, like, not actually the cases that I heard, they weren't saying that they were suicidal. They were just very depressed and overwhelmed from being in jail. So they ended up with these people coming in and interviewing them, and they weren't offering them any services, any psychology or programs or anything that would assist them to deal with these issues. They offered to kill them. We'll kill you for you. We'll like help you commit suicide or whatever. Very, very. This is exactly what Hitler did in his era. He had this assisted suicide deal, and they would arrest people. For example, they would consider homosexuality as a mental illness, and they would put them in institutions. And then once they're in the institution, if the officials decided that they couldn't make decisions for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe they were mad and they wanted to get out, and whatever, they were saying that, you know, they were resisting treatment or whatever the hell, then they could say, well, we need to take their decision making away. And that's what they did. And once they took it away, they could decide, this person on their behalf, we'll make a decision that they want assisted suicide. So we got to get this out of here. Like, it's a cancerous crap that we need to get it out of here. And I watched firsthand, up close, a situation like starting last September, so it's a year now, or almost a year. It was at the end of September, of a useless eater policy at the hospital, Ottawa Hospital, and this is all tied to the same thing. But they don't want to just have assisted suicide and just kind of randomly have people hook up to it. They want to go out systematically trolling for them, and in an aggressive, inappropriate way, like letting anybody answer those kind of questions on a form that goes into some kind of database somewhere. I didn't fill out the form, by the way. Oh my God, red light, and they decided to give me other options besides going through this process, and he's gonna be able to have his wheelchair, even though he's why he'd have to have assessment for it is beyond me. But regardless. But anyways, I just thought it was very important to bring this up, and you can have a look yourself. Go look at the criteria and look at the form, and think about why are they asking this question. Like, how does the answer relate to matching whether they have the appropriate supports for them? It's not. It's criteria for the MAID program. So I have a Facebook sentence, I guess 6-day sentence I can't share on any groups. So if you think this is important information to get out there, please share it on my behalf and get it out there as widely as possible. Very scary stuff, and it's right in your face when you look at it. But in spite of that, they have lost the confidence battle. People have no confidence in the plan, to restructure and reset. No confidence in there at all. And you can confirm that with a letter from Klaus Schwab to Chrystia Freeland, inviting her to Davros this past meeting, saying that on the agenda, one of the items is reestablishing trust in the World Economic Forum. So that's a real good relief, because in order to pull off their whole one world government thing and pull it off in Canada, they're in the process, but they haven't pulled it off yet in Canada. We still have a constitution, we still have a Bill of Rights. The courts are still recognizing that, and so we're still, at least for the moment, okay. And they do not have public support. UN, WEF, people are constantly, there was a video the other day, somebody yelling at Freeland, "Are you a member of the WEF?" And she goes and walks away, because people know what these guys are up to now, and they don't like it, and they're not putting up with it. And in Canada, we don't have to put up with it. Our Constitution protects us against the kind of treasonous things that are going on with the Emergency Act implementation by the executives of the government, and all the violence they use and all that. That's not over. And I see, in some regards, the court respecting rights. If this is too long for this video, there's some issues with one of the courts that's illegitimate. The Ontario Court of Justice is illegitimate. So if the person's going through their criminal charges through there, they can't have their rights respected because it's a statute court. But various people are challenging that, and the courts appear, in my view, what I'm seeing their response, they're cooperating and responding to these challenges. So I think we have a good chance. I think our system in general is on alert right now as to the transition that they're trying to make to put us under UN control entirely, and they're pushing back. Our police are pushing back, and our courts are pushing back, and some of the MPs are pushing back. Some of them are helping them, and some of the police are helping them, and some of the court is helping them. But what I see is more are pushing back than are cooperating, and this is giving me great hope. And I see many monkey wrenches in their plan all over the place. People know about the 15-minute cities and their sexualization of children in school. They know about it, and they're not doing it. And now they're learning how these things are unlawful, and they're learning how to take steps to address it through the legal system. And we see lots of progress happening there. So our courts are not all corrupt, and our police are not all corrupt, and our parliament officials are not all corrupt, and our bureaucrats aren't all corrupt. There's infiltration, and there's a lot of money and a lot of meddling going on to try and, you know, bring about what they want with this reset. But there's lots of resistance within the system and within the general community itself. And a lot of people are watching the astroturfing too, and it's not working. It's worked for, I don't know when they first started doing that stuff, but I watched it many times in my past work successfully, and it used to overwhelm me, you know, how effective it was. But now it's almost laughable. People are not going for it. They're making their own decisions. They're not just following along these so-called leaders, you know, down the bunny trail. And people are getting involved in very focused, very intelligently developed plans, and we're seeing results. And we're seeing a lot of collaboration between people that are like, no, this is not a communist country, not happening. We're not accepting any of this. UN has no power and control in here. They're foreign country. Any officials that cooperate with bringing them in as the new leader of the country are committing treason. People are catching on and not accepting that, and people are not accepting that data can be shared. All their data can be shared. People are taking various steps and stance against that, and also against digital currency. And actually, the use of cash went up 50% in the first year that COVID started. I don't even know what it's up to now, or if it kind of maxed out at that, I'm not sure. But that shows that there's a pretty good awareness and resistance to that as well. And that's not going to go away. And they're not going to be able to, you know, have some charming person show up with a fancy website and some big space to organize everybody and convince you that we have to lobby these international structures that have taken over our city, and they're not listening to us. BS! They haven't taken over our city. The process of making us think that they have that power is what they're doing. And they don't. Our Constitution doesn't allow them any decision-making process whatsoever, not even to be part of it. They have to come out and, you know, lobby from the gallery, the same as anybody else in the community. These NGOs that are so-called part of this international, you know, lawmaking process with the UN looking to like sustainability and all that crap. No. And who's buying sustainability? And who's buying climate change? I think we're winning because it's a psychological game, and they you know, made great gains for many years, and they're not ready to give up yet, but they're going to have to really soon, because they're sinking daily. They get less and less credibility, less and less support, less and less success, and I'm just delighted to see how Canadians have come together and drawn a line in the sand for the UN. Get off the property, off, out, away from the schools, away from the city halls, just out, off. And this is the way you win. And anybody that's cooperating with those structures and whatever, and voting for the, what does he call it, sustainable, no, not sustainable, what do they call it? There's another word for 15-minute city development plan, whatever. No, not sustainable, I forget. Sorry for the confusion, but it's not, they use different words and terms for 15-minute cities. And the councillors voted that in while they were having Zoom meetings in private because of COVID. And anybody that voted for that needs to be sued, because that's a breach of duty, because there was no consultation and there was no, like, they're not regarding our interests and our needs. And like literally nobody wants that 15-minute city thing. So they can't say, well, you know, that was kind of our sense that, you know, this is what people want. No. That's zero. It goes zero. So those people need to be taken to task. And you can use small claims court because it's very low risk. Everything's capped. You know, you don't pay all these extraordinary legal costs. And if enough people do it, it's going to be out at Chihuahua. The payout for the maximum amount claimed by 100 people would be $3,500,000 plus legal fees as a minimum of about $5 million. That's what they would be looking at if 100 people. So if 100 people in a whole city decided that their councillor stepped outside their authority by signing on to these 15-minute city things, get them. That's like, we have that in our system. We have case law, Rod Sorelli versus Duplessis, that says that any officials that act outside their authority, which in this case they did because they didn't consult us, and they're doing things that are clearly contrary to our interests and our rights, our articulated common law and codified rights in the Canadian Bill of Rights, our liberty. Like, you can't go out of this 15-minute radius. Liberty, severe. It's like a little jail, like a little prison. And there is absolutely no way they're going to be able to go in court and say that they had a right to pursue that, contrary to the interests of the citizens. So Rod Sorelli versus Duplessis says that from the Prime Minister down to the taxpayer, they are personally responsible if they step outside their authority. And in this case, they have. So notice of liability, tell them to withdraw their support for those plans, or they're getting it. They're getting it with a claim. And that small claims court is meant to be used without a lawyer. You can still get a lawyer too, or you can do a combination. You can do self-representation with consultation with a lawyer, or you could have several people making the same claim, and you could all pitch in and get feedback from a lawyer if you want, for your paperwork, or for, you know, if you want to build up more case law or whatever the case might be. But it's not pie in the sky. It's something tangible that will absolutely get their attention. When they see that NOL and they know this means I'm going to have to defend myself against these people if I don't get on it. So they have, you know, choice: financial ruin or smarten up. Because we do this method of NOL where we give them a chance to rectify their matter. And if they don't, well, they're getting it. And it's personally liable, so it'll go against their property, like their house or whatever other property they have. The ruling will go against that. And yeah, so that's the way to go. So any plans that you do have to stop the 15-minute stay, don't let it be in a context of, we've got to lobby these international group or whatever structure that is imposing on us and not listening to us. No, those, they need to go home. Pack up and go home, because there's no legal authority for them to do anything in Canada. Like, they have no business in City Hall, in the personal business and files and, you know, discussing and passing things and stuff like that. And it's no, go home. And all these little, you know, these perky little community developers that are going to help organize everybody, pretending that it's grassroots, when it's actually astroturfing, fake grassroots, because they're actually brainwashing people into thinking that we're done for. The UN structure is there, we have to deal with it somehow. And like, how's that going to work? That's reinforcing the their claim that we don't have a constitution and we don't have a Bill of Rights. So that's what these so-called astroturf groups are doing. They're telling people, oh, Mulroney, he signed the UN International 2030 plan, so that means we don't have a constitution anymore, we don't have a Bill of Rights. Well, BS. Where does it say in Canadian law that our Prime Minister can bounce off to the UN and completely give away the whole store? Nowhere. So his name on some kind of an agreement that makes them somehow the lawmakers of Canada isn't worth the paper it's written on. So don't let it be. Don't believe it is, don't act as though it is, and don't hang around with groups that are going, oh, the UN, you know, so we have to somehow get our voice heard in this international structure. No, we don't have to. We have to go after their minions that were our councillors and mayors and things like that that played a part in that. Go after them. And go after them like right now. So I'm going to end here because I didn't mean to get into a big 15-minute city discussion, but watch out for the preliminary screener home and community services request form, which is, you know, hunting, basically hunting for candidates to kill. Not good. Okay, so in spite of that negative, I don't feel that we're losing. I feel that we're winning. I believe when information comes out like this, people do something about it. They write letters, or they, you know, they'll do something. I'm thinking that a way to fight this one, on the form, like anybody can fill this form out. It's in the credits, and at the bottom it's asking for more information. So you could just put like no all the way down, and put John Doe is the person, right? And some fake information, and then on the you could put I would do it like this. I would put my name, but then when it's asking for the person's name, the disabled person's name, I would just say John Doe, so it's not real, and then just put no, and then at the bottom say, what is this? Like, what are you doing? This is like, you know, like outreach for people to kill. No, not cool in this country. Not cool at all. But I want to leave you with this one idea that I always put out, and that is hashtag we got this. Together, we have it. We understand what's going on. We know how to deal with it. And we are already winning. I could do I think I will do a whole video and lay out all the evidence there is that we are winning. We haven't won yet. There's still serious stuff going on, and there's still a need to be involved and you know, be aware, take positions on stuff and so on. But we are winning. So I'll end there now.